Welcome, fellow aviators. I am TH, a certified flight instructor, and I want to warmly welcome all you dedicated pilots striving for the next step in your aviation journey. Listen, today we are undertaking a truly comprehensive, no stone left unturned masterclass on 14 absolutely critical airplane emergency procedures. We aren't just going to sit here and read off checklists today. No, we are going to deeply understand the why behind every single action you take in that cockpit. All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. Takeoff engine failures. 2. In-flight engine failures. 3. Managing aircraft fires. 4. System failures and roughness. And finally, 5. Descents and gear extensions. All right, starting with Section 1, Takeoff engine failures. Now, we always hear folks talking about memory items, but I want to ask you directly, why do we actually need to commit these specific items to memory first, before we ever think about verifying with a physical checklist? Well, the answer is simple, and honestly, it's pretty unforgiving. It is intensely time critical. When an engine fails right on takeoff, we literally do not have the time or the altitude to bury our heads in a manual. We are just way too close to the ground. You've got to execute straight from muscle memory. And only when the aircraft is totally, safely controlled do you pull out that checklist to verify. So let's break down checklist item number 1, engine failure during takeoff roll. Your immediate physical actions in the cockpit must be absolutely decisive. First, pull that throttle back to idle. You want to completely remove any asymmetrical or surging thruster right away. Second, get on those brakes aggressively to stop the aircraft on whatever runway you've got left. Third, retract the wing flaps immediately. Why? Because you need to dump that lift and put the weight firmly onto the wheels to get maximum braking action. Next, pull your mixture to idle cutoff. We need to eliminate the fuel source to drastically reduce the chance of a post-incident fire. And finally, turn the ignition switch and the master switch off. You're entirely securing the electrical and combustion sources of the airplane, shutting the whole shebang down.
But what happens if the wheels have literally just left the pavement? Item 2 covers an engine failure immediately after takeoff. Your very first priority here is airspeed. Pitch immediately for 79 knots. At this point, your options are pretty limited, right? You fly to a spot straight ahead, or if your altitude permits, you circle slightly above a designated landing spot. Whatever you do, do not attempt the impossible turn. Next, secure the engine to reduce fire chances. Pull the mixture to idle cutoff, turn the fuel selector off, and switch the ignition off. Use your wing flaps as desired to manage your descent rate and your touchdown speed. And here's an absolutely crucial safety habit you need to build. Open that cabin door just before touchdown. This keeps the door frame from jamming up on you during structural deformation, making sure you have an unhindered exit route. Finally, turn the master switch off.
Moving on to Section 2, in-flight engine failures.
For checklist item 3, an engine failure during flight, we rely heavily on the ABCD method. A. Airspeed. Pitch for your best glide of 79 knots. B. Best landing spot. Find it, fly to it, or circle it. Now we systematically run the attempt restart checklist. Turn the fuel pump on. Your engine-driven fuel pump might have just failed, so this gives you an immediate backup. Push the mixture to rich so we ensure we're providing enough fuel to a starved engine. Open your alternate air manually, because something might actually be blocking the primary air inlet, like ice or debris. Switch your fuel selector over to the opposite tank. The tank you're on might just be bone dry. Check your engine gauges. If power successfully comes back, close the alternate air and turn the fuel pump off. But, and this is important, if the engine starts running rough again when you do that, revert right back to the previous condition. Leave them on and land as soon as practical. Now let's look at checklist item 4, an emergency landing without power. The engine is dead and it is absolutely not coming back. Let me ask you, from a mechanical standpoint, how can we actively increase our glide distance so we can actually reach a safer field? The answer is right there in your propeller pitch. Pulling the prop lever fully backward decreases the propeller speed. By flattening the blade angle relative to the relative wind, parasite drag is significantly decreased, which, believe it or not, visibly increases your glide distance. It's a real game changer. Now, when landing is absolutely assured, and I mean only then, push the prop lever full forward to properly secure the engine. At this stage, follow the checklist to secure the aircraft. Fuel pump off, mixture idle cutoff, throttle closed, ignition switch off, fuel selector off, alternator off. Make sure your seats and seatbelts are tightly secured, unlatch and open the cabin door, and right before touchdown, flip that master switch off.
Let's talk about the concept of a precautionary landing, which is checklist item number 5. What exactly are we talking about here? Well, a precautionary landing is a proactive, highly deliberate maneuver. It's initiated when we realize something is actively going wrong during the flight, like severe engine roughness, a wing fire, or an electrical fire. We do this before the situation degrades into a totally uncontrolled emergency.
Executing this requires real precision. You need to maintain an airspeed of 79 knots while you locate a suitable field. Once you've got one selected, slow it down to 72 knots. Use your flaps as desired to control that descent angle. Now, for the landing gear, you generally want to keep it down, depending on the surface. The landing gear is an excellent method for relieving shock during a rough, off-airport touchdown. The only exception to this rule? Water. If you're ditching in water, think of the Miracle on the Hudson, you keep the gear up so you don't flip the aircraft. As you commit to the landing, methodically turn the fuel pump off, mixture to idle cut off, throttle closed, ignition off, master and alternator off, fuel selector off, and strongly brace your seats and belts. Section 3. Managing aircraft fires. We've got to clearly distinguish between Item 6, an engine fire during start, and Item 7, an engine fire in flight. If a fire erupts while you're starting the engine, your very first instinct might be to pull the key, right? But the procedure is the exact opposite. Continue cranking the starter. The goal is to literally suck the fire right down into the cylinder while simultaneously cutting off the fuel source. So pull the mixture to idle cutoff, open the throttle fully, and turn the fuel pump and selector off. Why does this even happen? Usually, overpriming causes excess fuel to pool on the exhaust. It gets incredibly hot and it ignites. If the fire continues despite cranking, you must abandon the aircraft. Now contrast this with an engine fire in flight. Here, you immediately turn the fuel selector off, pull the mixture to idle cutoff, close the throttle, and turn the fuel pump off. But most importantly, turn your heater and defroster off. This is absolutely crucial to prevent toxic exhaust gases and smoke from entering the cabin with you. From there, you proceed directly into the emergency landing without power procedure. Let's look at two other distinct fire types. Item 8 is an electrical fire in flight. Your very first action? Kill the power. Master switch off, alternator off, open the vents to clear out the smoke, make sure cabin heat is off, and land as soon as possible. Then we have Item 14, a wing fire. This requires some aggressive aerodynamic action. First, try to literally step on the fire if it's within reach inside, but externally, you must side-slip the aircraft. If the fire is on the right wing, apply right rudder. You've got to blow those flames away from the fuel tanks and the cabin. If the fire is successfully extinguished, reduce your wing load during the descent. We do this because the structural integrity is compromised, and the imposed load limit on that damaged wing is now entirely unknown. Then, get it on the ground immediately. Moving to Section 4, System Failures and Roughness. Let's define a very specific symptom mentioned in Item 9, the engine surge. An engine surge is characterized by a continuous oscillation from low to high power. It creates this very rhythmic surging sound in the cockpit. Recognizing this specific auditory and tachometer cue is your first step in properly diagnosing your power loss. So the crucial point is how we handle general engine roughness, which is Item 9. Roughness can be caused by quite a few things: an improper mixture setting, a foul spark plug, a mechanical pump failure, or that engine surge we just talked about. Your immediate diagnostic steps need to be highly methodical. Adjust the mixture for smooth operation. You might just be running way too lean or too rich. Open the alternate air. Turn the electric fuel pump on. Switch your fuel selector over to the other tank. Check your engine gauges for any anomalies. And if the engine is still running rough, perform a magneto check by switching the ignition from left to right, then back to both. If you manage to identify a bad magneto, proceed on the best operating magneto and land as soon as practical. Checklist Item 10 deals with a total electrical failure. Start by checking your ammeter to verify the discharge. Immediately reduce all electrical loads to the absolute bare minimum required for safe flight. Check and reset the alternator circuit breaker if it happens to be popped. Next, turn the alternator off for exactly 5 minutes to allow it to cool down and reset, then turn it back on. If power is still not restored, turn the alternator off permanently. You must land as soon as practical because your battery is now your one and only source of power, and let me tell you, that clock is ticking. Let's shift to checklist Item 11, propeller overspeed. This terrifying scenario is usually caused by a catastrophic loss of oil pressure inside the prop hub, resulting in the blades reverting to a low-pitch, high RPM state, or it can be caused by a boost pump failure. Your immediate action is to sharply retard the throttle. Check your oil pressure gauge right away. Pull the propeller lever to full decrease to manually force the blade pitch. Reduce your airspeed by pitching up and use the throttle as required to ensure the engine stays below the red line of 2,700 RPM. You absolutely have to prevent a catastrophic engine teardown. Finally, Section 5, Descents and gear extensions. Checklist item 12 outlines the emergency descent. You use this when you need to lose altitude instantly, like during an uncontained fire or a severe physiological emergency. Drop the gear, but ensure you are below 129 knots. Turn the fuel pump on, pull the throttle back to idle, push the propeller lever full forward for maximum aerodynamic braking, and roll into a bank of at least 45 degrees to maintain a positive load factor while you drop the nose. Make sure your airspeed stays below that 129-knot limit while you're in the descent. To recover from this dive, enrich in the mixture, level your wings, and bring the gear back up, ensuring you do so below 107 knots.
But what if you arrive at your destination and those wheels just won't lock? Item 13 is the emergency landing gear extension. First, verify the basics. Check that the master switch is on, the alternator is on, and all circuit breakers are pushed in. If it's daytime, make sure your nav lights are turned off. Having them on during the day can actually dim the gear indicator bulbs to the point where they look unlit. Check the indicator bulbs themselves. If the landing gear still doesn't show down and locked, reduce your airspeed below 87 knots, put the gear selector switch down, and physically hold the emergency gear lever down to manually actuate that system. Now imagine you've done all that. You've held the emergency lever down, but the gear has still completely failed to lock into place. The manual dictates that you must yaw the airplane abruptly from side to side using heavy rudder inputs to physically shake the gear into its locking detent. But as professional aviators, I pose this crucial aerodynamic question to you. Before you go applying full, abrupt rudder deflections, what critical airspeed limitation must you absolutely respect? You must be below VA, your maneuvering speed. Applying full or abrupt control inputs above that can overstress the airframe and literally turn a gear emergency into a fatal structural failure. My fellow aviators, understanding the why behind these 14 procedures, knowing the mechanics behind the memory items, the drag profile of your propeller, and the strict structural limits of your airframe is exactly what separates a pilot from a professional aviator. But knowing the procedures is only half the battle. As our aircraft become increasingly technologically advanced, what new, unseen emergencies will the next generation of glass cockpits throw our way? Keep studying, stay ahead of the airplane, and I'll see you in the skies.